questions for Coach Rose?
Yeah.
All right, Coach, more than a week into it, fall camp, just kind of what's your early evaluation of the guys, especially having your first scrimmage on Sunday?
Oh, it's really good. You know, you judge from day one till today. Like, I see us getting better every single day at every position. So very pleased with that. Our guys, we're focusing on just physicality right now, putting a big emphasis on that. And our guys, they're answering that bell. So today was a really good practice. You saw that, just following up the scrimmage, because you know how that is. Scrimmage, everybody's geeked up and ready to go. But us coming back today in our first practice since then, like I walked out of that one feeling pretty good about what I saw on both sides of the ball.
Tim, throughout the early part of this practice, what's impressed you so far, and what are some areas where you think you need to continue to get better at?
Well, first of all, I'd say, you know, I think every position group, there are certain things that they all got to get better at. But what stands out, you know, our running back position is pretty deep. You see a lot of different guys being able to go in there and create explosive plays. And, you know, we knew that coming out of spring ball and, you know, through the summer, but it's always good when, you know, you have your mind set in one way and then you're actually seeing that come to pass on the field. So our guys are doing a really good job back there. Offensive line, I think they're developing every day. You know, we're doing a good job of, you know, giving some guys some looks at some different positions just to, because, you know, through the course of a season when things start to happen, we don't want to be caught off guard and having to do those things then. So, you know, being able to do that right now and guys having success and showing progression is really good. Our receivers, the physicality from them, they're getting pushed really hard every day just to be able to do the things without the ball. And you know, you get so caught up at that position and you know how many balls we're catching and all that, but we made the focus with those guys just how physical they're going to be, you know, in the blocking game. And then, you know, just showing extra effort, you know, going downfield. They said we have the backs to create explosive plays a lot, but a lot of times the difference between a 20-yard gain and a 70-yard touchdown is a receiver screening just a little bit more down the field. And our guys, they're getting pushed every day to do that, and you're seeing that show up on film more. And then our quarterbacks, the position that to start with, you know, you watch those guys taking, you know, command of the offense and really being leaders with the other guys in the group, you know, coming on the sideline, talking about things that are happening, because that's what you want to see, your quarterbacks coming off the field and pulling receivers or pulling running backs, saying, you know, do this or, you know, hesitate a little more there. So you're seeing that more and more, so I'm very pleased with just overall how we're progressing from day to day.
Coach, you mentioned progression everywhere, on the ball, off the ball, and otherwise. Is there, obviously there's a lot of new faces too, transfers, whatever. Who's a returner that's somebody that's making a leap to be a much player this year than last year?
I started the receiver position. You know, Xavier Townsend's had a really good offseason. He's a guy that's, you know, when he's gotten opportunities throughout his career, he's done a really good job at really having been in a position to be like the primary guy. You're seeing him take steps in his game to put himself in a position to be that. Chauncey Magwood has had a really good camp so far. You know, a guy that hadn't really gotten a chance yet either. And, but you're seeing it every day. He's bringing it every single day. Not only the balls that or the plays that he's making with the ball, but just that effort stuff. You know, a guy that's going to do some dirty work. So, you know, Trent Whitmore, same deal. You know, he's a guy that didn't get a lot of opportunities to catch it, but he's getting a lot of 50-50 opportunities now. He's making plays. So, you know, you got guys at the receiver position starting to progress there. It's been really good. So I've been pleased with them. Our running backs, you know, all the guys there, they do a good job. RJ, you know what you're getting there. But Johnny Richardson, his game is going to continue to get better. You know, we got to add things to his packages from, you know, what we're trying to do right now. So very pleased. But those are the guys that stand out as return guys.
3 of the 4 captains named were on the offense. How has that leadership shown through in fall camp?
It's a big deal. It shows clearly. Start with our quarterback being a guy that transferred here, didn't get here to January, but the respect that he earned of his teammates just in this short time to be voted as a captain. I think that's very important, because you want the guy, you know, at that position to be able to lead your team. And KJ doing a great job with that. You know, I watched him during spring ball, but you can tell he was still getting comfortable being here with us, still getting comfortable with us as a staff and his teammates, and he didn't really say a whole lot. He was trying to just get a really good understanding of what we were trying to do offensively. But after that, we got into the summer, and he started taking control when we bring the offense up. You know, him saying the motivating words before we, you know, take the field. And then when we're coming off, him being able to fix people. So I think that guy, you know, being voted the captain was the most important. Then guys like RJ, who's earned so much respect, because he's a guy that when he got here, RJ had to work himself to where he is now. You know, we look at what the product was of last season for him, and it was a really great season, but, you know, it wasn't that when he walked in the door. He really had to take every step from the bottom of the running back depth chart, learning how to play the position to now, and his teammates respect the heck out of him because no matter how much success he had last year, you wouldn't see it by the way, you wouldn't know that by the way that he works. He works extremely hard on and off the field for this program, and he's a guy that earns his teammates' respect. And then Marcellus, same deal. From the offensive line standpoint, you always want one of those guys up front. You know, the big uglies, you always want one of them to be a guy that their teammates respect a lot. And Marcellus obviously earned that from our team, and you know, he's a really good leader in that offensive line room. So offensively, you know, we're in pretty good shape when it comes to that. You know, we feel pretty confident as a staff that those three guys who were voted as captains for this team, they can truly run the show if our coaches aren't in the room.
What do you think are the main points of emphasis after the first scrimmage and getting a chance to review the tape? What did you like and what did you not like from it?
Well, the main emphasis is being physical. Right? Being physical, that's the main emphasis. Like you talk about that a lot, and Coach, I know he probably spoke on it a little bit from his perspective as a head coach, because you get in training camp sometime and your focus becomes trying to get everybody to the game. And we still want to do that, but when you take that mentality sometimes early on, you don't hit as much as you probably should. And this fall camp, we're not doing that. We're gonna let our guys hit. We're gonna let our defense be feisty, because we feel like that's gonna help our offense ultimately. So, that's the biggest emphasis every day. And our skill position guys on offense, they're getting challenged probably more than anybody when it comes to that, because that's an area when you look back at a lot of film from last year, there were a lot of things that didn't go our way just simply off of straining and being physical on the perimeter, I'd say. But there's coming out of the scrimmage, you see guys that are trying and guys that are willing to, extend themselves in that area. So I was very pleased with that, more than anything. When I look at the tape, you're just watching guys trying to do what their coaches are asking them to do. And it wasn't clean. It was the first scrimmage. It wasn't as clean as it can be. We had some penalties that we obviously got to clean up. That stood out. But you're watching guys trying to do what their coach to do. And, as a staff, when you see that on tape, you feel good about it. It's something to build off of.
You guys brought in Ja'Cory Brown after the springtime, someone you have a pre-existing relationship from Miami. So what's that transition been like, and how's he looked in the early part of camp?
Oh, Ja'Cory's done a really good job for himself. Same deal, that position, they got so much to worry about. So first couple of days is always just them trying to really understand how we practice, how we operate, and just everything that goes with the position. There's so many things that he has to think about and before the ball is even snapped. So, you can see that in those first couple of days, but as our practices are starting to go, we had an opportunity to go live with him on Saturday. And that's when I think his game shows the most. He has the ability to extend plays. You can use him in the run game, and he made some explosive plays for us in that scrimmage. And you watch him, you should see the confidence today after the scrimmage that he had. You see him, that confidence roll over today to practice to even clean up some of the areas that he wasn't consistently showing. But I've been very pleased with Ja'Cory, as well as all the quarterbacks. But he's done a really good job for himself.
Tim, I was going to ask about, you talked all the other quarterbacks, but Dylan Risk, who was here last year, had an opportunity to get in the office. What have you seen from him, and is he able to take that next step from being a true freshman to sophomore?
Yeah, Dylan's done a really good job too with the opportunities that he's had. You see, the development there. Coach Henshaw has done a really good job with him over this last year, and you see that every day. When he's out, he got in the scrimmage the other day, and I told him after the scrimmage that was probably the cleanest that he's played, since I've been back here. In the spring, still young then, you get a little worried and you run around a little bit, but in the scrimmage on Sunday, he was very in control of the game, and that's what you want to see. So that development is obviously going really well for him, and I'm looking forward to him taking the next step as well.
Gus talked a little bit about after the scrimmage about big plays. Jacoby Jones had 2 touchdowns. What have you noticed from him since he's come in?
He's a worker, and that's exactly what I knew we were going to get just from handling him in the recruiting process. A guy that 2022 had a really big season at his last school, and then last season he got an early injury that kept him out, and he was kind of under the radar in the transfer portal. But you go back and watch that tape, and you see the evidence physically what he did that season. And then when you bring him in on a visit and you talk to a guy, you hear their story, kind of where they come from. And he's a guy that worked himself to where he is. Had to go the JUCO route. Wasn't a recruited guy coming out of high school, was small. You probably wouldn't notice that when you see him now, right? Because he's worked himself to where he is. 225-pound receiver, and he plays that way. Strong, knows how to get defenders off of him. Strong hands, and he's done a really good job every day of just being coachable. So I'm very pleased with him and happy for the success, the early success that he's having, but continuing to push him, because he's still got, some things to clean up in his game that can make him as good as he can be, but I'm very pleased with where he's at right now.
Gus mentioned a couple of the quarterbacks went live during the scrimmage, especially the younger guys. What do you feel like they've gained from that experience and that opportunity to go at full out?
They gained a lot because Jakari, like I said, being with him, Jakari redshirted last season at his last school, and so he only played in the bowl game. So he played a couple games his true freshman season, but that's a lot of time, to play one game last year where you full contact. A lot of time with him not playing real football. He's over on the scout team, but getting out there on Sunday, knowing that he's live, knowing that he has to escape, and the whistle isn't going to be blown when you get touched. Like, it really forces a guy to show the different areas of his game. And for him, that was a really big positive for us because we weren't able to judge those things off of the previous practices. So to get to see him have to do the things that he can do when plays break down or when we call quarterback run game, that was really good for us. So, we all walked off feeling really good about, just what his future can look like, when it comes to things that we do as an offense. And, Jakari, he's a willing learner too. I don't want to, just make it all about his physical attributes, but just his coachability is one of the most impressive things about him. He's a guy that really wants to be really good. He wants to be good. And everything that a coach tells him, he hangs on to it. E.J. Colson, same thing. Coming out of high school, he got the opportunity to be live the other day. And what I think it helps him with most is the speed of the game is totally different from when you're in high school. And EJ won a lot in high school. The game probably came a lot easier to him. And he did some really good things on Sunday. And, as a young guy, you really want to make sure that you point those good things out, because when it's not all clean like he's been used to seeing, they should kind of get in the dumps a little bit like they didn't do well. But when you go back and evaluate the tape, he did some really good things. And I think him going live, I don't know if we'll do it again for the next scrimmage, but I think the more work guys like him get doing that, it'll help them in their progression, as we get, ready for opponents.
Couple more. You got Kobe and Xavier kind of coming back to lock up maybe the top spots in your receiver group. Who do you see maybe behind those guys that maybe can step up and maybe be that third, fourth, maybe option when it comes to?
Well, I'll be honest. I won't even say that anybody's ahead of anyone right now. We got extreme competition in that receiver room now, and it's coming down to a lot of things. Every day, that rotation changes a little bit. I've talked about Chauncey Magwood, though. He's a guy that's stepped up in training camp and doing some really good things. Being consistent more than anything. Trent Whitmore, same thing. He's a steady guy, and Trent is a worker. Always going to know exactly where you got to be. He knows his deficiencies in his game, and he knows how to make sure that he covers himself forward and get into the right spot. Xavier Townsend, you talked about, obviously done a good job continuing to elevate. Jacoby, who he's just talked about, doing a good job of. And then all of our young guys, you're seeing it from all of our young guys continuing to progress from spring ball. Tyree Patterson, Bradell Richardson, all those guys. And I may be missing some guys, but those are the key guys that are getting a lot of looks right now. But our receiver position, there's no one ahead of anybody right now. There's constant competition. There's pressure on them every day to make sure that they go out there and put the right stuff on tape.
Coach, back here, what's something you want to see the offense improve on in the next scrimmage and ultimately before the end of this fall camp?
I think this past scrimmage we were very vanilla in our run game. We stuck to one scheme and we were going to live with it. So the next scrimmage, I think just us adding some things schematically to open up the explosive plays in our run game. I want to see that, and then our receivers just continue to be able to make the downfield 50-50 plays. We had Javon Baker we had last year. He had a lot of success doing that, and you look at it, you take that for granted. And but you look at, you got Randy Pittman in the room. We're doing some things with him to give him opportunities to do that too. But from our receivers and tight ends, the things that we're trying to do to put them in a position to make downfield plays, we want to see those guys make those plays more consistently.
Last one.
Speaking about some tight ends, Grant Stevens has dealt with injuries before fall camp, both of the seasons. What's he like now in his first week of camp?
Done a really good job. You saw it through spring ball, through the summer. Grant's done a good job putting himself in position to compete at that spot. is getting pushed really well every day by Randy, to be honest. They both, when you recruit those kind of guys, skill set wise, you're seeing a lot of the same things. Receiving type guys that can go out there, but they both have developed their bodies well enough to be willing blockers too, and they're doing a good job at that. And Grant, you know, has continued to get better, and he's shown that he's willing to do that. So, you know, I'm excited to see, you know, what the future looks like for Grant too.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank y'all.
Did you get a pit bull?